up, guys, and welcome to Press A Repeatedly. Justin Tomasello here with Christopher Gold.
Hey, everybody. How we doing?
Chris, pumpkin pancakes are back.
Pumpkin pancakes are back. Pumpkin everything is back. In fact, it's funny you mentioned that. Last week at this time, as we were recording this, Elena and I celebrated 6 years together. Happy anniversary.
Woo!
And for breakfast, we went to the diner, and I had some frickin' pumpkin pancakes, and they were incredible.
Yeah, I needed to ask you about that because I feel like every diner, everywhere I go, has a huge sign that says, pumpkin pancakes are back. And I don't remember them being here in the first place.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because it was the first time I heard of pumpkin
Yeah, me
pancakes
too.
myself.
Like, I remember pumpkin spice coffee, all that stuff. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Pumpkin everything. I mean, I
Yeah.
shouldn't be surprised that pumpkin pancakes are a thing. I just had never heard of it before. And I opened the menu, I'm looking, and they're like, oh, pumpkin pancakes in season. And I'm like, this is pumpkin season. Hell yeah, give me the pumpkin pancakes. And they were really, really freaking good.
Can confirm. Are delicious.
I know a lot of people out there make fun of how much stuff out there is pumpkin spice flavored. And I understand. I get it. Because, like, do we really need, like, pumpkin spice Pop-Tarts or pumpkin spice Oreos? You know, that's pushing it. That's a little over the edge. But on the other hand, I love the pumpkin spice flavor. I'll cop to it. People are like, "Oh, you like pumpkin spice?" I like it. I don't give a shit. You know, I'll drink it all up. You know, hook it right up to my veins and push a whole pumpkin through the IV into my body. You know, That's medically sound.
Hey, if it's there and you like it, don't let society bring you down. I say go all in on the pumpkin spice. The pumpkin spice pancakes are great. They taste like pumpkin pie. Like, I was really impressed. And I guess if they're, I'm not sure, but I would guess how to make them is to use that like pumpkin filling that's in the jar that you do make pumpkin pie with, and it makes the pancakes like it keeps like a good moisture in them, and like, oh man, they're really good. So go out there and get pumpkin pancakes when you can.
What made these pancakes even better too was the waitress put whipped cream on top of the pancakes, and she sprinkled like nutmeg on top of them. So it was extra special good.
I bet that'd be good with bananas on top too.
Yeah, Elena actually got banana pancakes herself. I should have stolen some of her bananas.
Yeah, it's your duty as boyfriend to eat her food.
6 years in, I've earned that right.
Yes. With the pumpkin talk out of the way, we can focus on the
focus on the thing that matters more. Video games. Justin,
yes.
True or false? Pumpkin spice has everything to do with video games.
I'll go false on that one, but I do see where you're going with this. Yes, that's right. It is the return of video game true or false. I have a couple questions that I'm going to ask Chris later on during our main topic. I'll give a statement, and that he can make an argument for whether it will be a true statement or it is a false statement, and explain why, and we'll kind of go back and forth on them. We've done it a few times on the show. It's always a crowd favorite, and we're happy to have it back.
If memory serves me right, ordinarily we have a guest for this particular segment. This time is a little different. This was kind of a last-second decision, so we didn't really have a chance to wrangle up any guests for this particular episode. So it's just going to be us. We're going to be running true and false solo, and I think it's going to be really fun. You know, we're going to have some good discussions, some good debates, and I cannot wait.
No one to bail you out, and no one to influence your decision. We're going to get 100% Chris Gold later on today.
Yep. Ordinarily, I just rip off whatever Zool or Butch says and say, oh, yeah, that's my idea, too. But not this time.
Yeah, whatever. I agree with that one.
Not this time. This time, I'm going to be exposed for the fraud I am.
This time, you have to pay attention.
So, when do we start recording?
About 6 minutes ago.
Ah, crap. Well, I guess there's no time like the present, so let's just dive right in. before we get into any of that, we've been playing some video games. So, Justin, let's kick things off with you. What are you playing?
What are you playing? All right, yeah. So I will say, even though it's been a little while since our last episode, I haven't been playing too much, mainly because the baseball playoffs are going on right now, and like every night there's just a really great game, and I've been kind of glued to them. It's hard to like for me to, and I'm sure for you, a even bigger baseball fan than me, Chris.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just hard to just to not watch them. I even tried playing some games while a game is on, and I'm not even focusing on the video game. I want to watch the baseball game. So, it's been a little tough to find time to play games, but I'm still working my way through Link's Awakening. Really taking my time with it. It's not a long game, but I'm just kind of just really taking my time here and there, really enjoying it for what it is. I am pretty far in. I'm on the 7th dungeon, the Eagle's Tower.
Oh, that one's good, but that one's a tricky one. That's the thing about Link's Awakening 2 that a lot of people don't remember is, yeah, it's kind of a short game, but it's also hard. Like, there's a lot to that game that you just kind of have to remember or piece together somehow. Like, you really have to exercise your brain a lot more than, old man talking here, a lot more than you have to do in today's games. But yeah, Eagle's Tower in particular, that one is tricky because you have a ball that you have to carry around with you in different floors, and you have to throw it at different places, and you have to keep track of where that ball is as you're going like up and down different levels, and it's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah, the dungeon is just, you got to be focused because first of all, there's 4 floors to the dungeon. As Chris mentioned, there's also that mechanic with the ball that breaks down the pillars. But also, there is, when you're on the 2nd floor or above, if you fall into a hole, you will fall to the floor beneath. So you kind of have to study the map and see where, sometimes you need to purposely fall down a hole to get into a certain room. And if that's not crazy enough, there's also like the on-off switch, I guess is what you would call it, is in that level. It's like that blue gem thing that changes these walls, these blue walls or orange walls, from being up or down, and you constantly have to keep going back and forth and switching that on and off to try and work your way through the dungeon. And yeah, this one, it's a lot of backtracking. It's definitely becoming a nuisance. I want it to be over with. I played it twice last week after work, and both times, like, I was really getting confused and stuck, and I was just so tired from work and stuff. I was like, I don't have the brain capacity to get through this right now. So I'm almost there. I knocked down 3 of the 4 pillars. I beat the mid-boss. I got the nightmare key. I'm like so close, but there's one more pillar that I can't get to. And the last time I played, I thought I had to carry the ball and bring it to this one room and throw it over this fence thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
I know the room you're talking about.
Yeah. So I walked all the way over there. I got the ball. I put it where it needed to be. I went upstairs. I dropped in the hole to land where I needed to be. I picked up the ball. I threw it over the fence, and it just hit the fence and bounced back down in front of me. And you're not supposed to throw it over the fence there, I guess. And I was like, all right, I'm turning this off. And that's where I left off.
Yeah, it can be a little frustrating. Yeah, just all I can say is keep trying to figure out where the ball goes. That is a very tricky dungeon. It's one of the trickier ones. They get trickier. I will say, like, the next dungeon is also very, very tricky. And that's all I'll really say at the moment. But yeah, you're getting there. You're very, very close. So just keep plugging away.
Yeah, I know I'm towards the end of the game, and there's 8 main dungeons and there's 1 bonus dungeon. I never actually beat Link's Awakening when I was a kid. The farthest I ever made it was, I think, to this particular dungeon.
Same, yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at right now. Someone pointed out it's just so awesome to have two Zelda games on one console that are so vastly different from each other and play in different styles. And it's
Oh
a good
yeah.
point. If you think of Breath of the Wild and it's open world and exploration focused, and then you have the way more traditional, maybe you could argue a little bit dated, but still, traditional Zelda experience at Link's Awakening. That's just really cool.
I mean, you could say dated. I would prefer the more positive sounding classic
Antiquated.
It antiquated, old school, dustbin, whichever way you want to describe it. It's a play style that works. It endures. Like even to this day, when they release a 2D Zelda with the top down view, it works. It's a classic formula. It's tried and true. I think it's interesting that you've got two Zelda games that are so vastly different in style, but you can still safely look at either one of them and say, yeah, these are Zelda games for like one reason or another, not just like the story or the characters or whatever, but they have that Zelda feel, Yeah. And I kind of agree with a small subset of people out there who are wondering, like Link's Awakening works in this art style. Maybe we can get the Oracle games in the same style, like Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. I think those would be cool in the same art style.
I think it would be cool, but you know how I feel. I would much rather see something new than a remaster or a remake. So
yeah, that's fair.
But we're getting Breath of the Wild too, so that'll serve.
It will do. Yeah, Nintendo is like tuning into our podcast, listening. What will please Justin? Breath of the Wild 2 is fine.
Whew, thank goodness.
All right, so what else you got?
So I also continued more of Knights and Bikes. I've been playing on PS4.
Ooh, nice, very cool.
Yeah, it's another one that it's great. It's a lot of fun. I put it off when Zelda came out. So now I'm trying to go back because I was pretty much close to the end of that. It's fun. It's got a really cool art style. The story, although it's kind of at some points convolutedly told, it's still pretty interesting. It's mainly a co-op game, and I'm playing it solo, so I think that's kind of hindering my experience a little bit. But I think it's good. I think it's got some struggles. I think the combat's kind of weak, and it can be seem a little boring, a little too easy at times. But overall, it's cool. This is a game that only made by two guys, I believe. They've been working on it for a long time. Finally came out. They got picked up by Double Fine for help with the publishing of the game, and it's just cool to see it out there finished. And it's awesome. I'm pretty sure I'm close to the end of that one as well, so I'm just trying to wrap that up.
All right, very nice. Now, so you think you're close to the end?
Yeah, I think it's like the story takes place over 5 days, and I'm in the morning of the 5th day, so I gotta be right at the end.
All right, interesting.
Yeah.
This is that game. It's kind of like that 80s like hunting for treasure type of thing.
Yeah. It's it's cool. It's got like a cool like storybook art style to it. Almost like a weird like grim fairy tale. Like everything is a little creepy. Like not scary, but like just everything looks a little off. It's got like an aggressive kind of almost Picasso style to like the characters and environments and everything.
Okay, I got you.
But yeah, it's definitely cool, and I'm sure it's a lot of fun co-op. So if you're looking for a game to play with a friend or something, I would suggest checking out Knights and Bikes.
All right, awesome.
Yeah, and then real quick, last thing I played last night. I was over at my brother's place, and we booted up the Super Nintendo on Switch, and we started playing Super Tennis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was really weird. But like we loaded it up and like the beginning intro started with the music and everything, and it was like we both got hit with like this flashback ray, and we remembered that we rented this game over our aunt's house when we were really young, like from the video game store and used to play it like a bunch, and like the music and the characters and the goofiness of like the game, it all just came like right back to us, like the menus and everything. And it was crazy because we completely, I guess, forgot about it. It was almost like a recessed memory of a game, but it was just really cool to pop that in and start playing that again.
All right, nice. So,
Yeah.
so this was something you guys played when you were like little.
Yeah, oh yeah. It had to be when the game came out, like around that time. And it's hilarious. The characters that you can pick from. There's like 10 pre-made girls and 10 pre-made boys you can pick from, and
Right.
they all have like pixel art like headshots. The guy I picked is so weird and creepy looking. It's just fantastic. His name was Bradley, I believe, or something like that. I'll find a picture. It'll be our graphic for this week. It's hysterical. You gotta see it. He's got like a mullet and sunglasses. Just a total creep.
So he's like trying to be...
Meyer was his name.
Meyer, okay.
Yeah.
So he's trying to be like Mr. Cool Guy.
Oh yeah. It should be said, I completely obliterated Nick. He won the first game, and then I won 6 games in a row, and took the first set. And then the second set was closer, but I won 6-4. So yeah. That was the end.
So you eased up a little bit and let him have a few games.
Yeah, we were pointing out it was pretty cool. It seems that Mario Tennis took a lot from this game. Like basically the idea of how the controls work with the lop shots and the drop shots and stuff, the diving for it, the serve and everything. So yeah, that was pretty cool to see.
I'm just imagining Nintendo's devs like watching this game being played, and they're like, taking notes. And then, all right, yeah, that was a great game you guys released. We're going to put out a Mario Tennis game now that's going to use a lot of those same ideas. And the dev team is like, oh, great. So are we going to have like a Tennis 64, with us making it? And they're just like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it's possible that a Nintendo development team actually made this game. First party, I'm not sure. But what's interesting is that Super Tennis and Super Soccer are available for the first time since their original Super Nintendo release on the Switch. So maybe that's why we kind of had forgotten about it, and they got those like crazy memories.
Right. Yeah, I will say that Super Nintendo, that Switch online service, having access to the Super Nintendo games is a blessing right now. Not to tip my hand a little bit, but that's a lot of what I've been playing lately, and it's just really cool. Like the emulation on these older games is just pitch perfect.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's been awesome, and really that's all for me this week. So I'll kick it over to you.
All right, so you had not been playing a lot. I honestly have been playing even less. Unfortunately, I had a trip to Florida in there that kind of threw things off.
Yeah.
It's more. I mean, that's more of an excuse than a reason, if we're being 100% honest. But I did have some game time going in there. I did beat Link's Awakening for the for the first time. Like you, I had never beaten it as a kid. It was too hard. Now, with my bigger, better, grown-up brain, I was able to think through a lot of the puzzles more, and I was able to actually finish it.
Did you do the bonus dungeon? The color dungeon?
The color dungeon? Yes. Yes, I did.
Okay.
I thought that was like a part of the game, like I thought, oh, this is a dungeon that I have to complete. And then when I reached the end, I realized, oh, this was completely optional, which was unfortunate because I died more than a few times in that dungeon. It kicked my ass. But yeah, I did complete the color dungeon. I didn't find all the seashells, to my undying shame. But I beat the game, and took care of the windfish, and everything is great and good.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's just a fantastic game. If you've never played Link's Awakening before, this is a game that like you really owe it to yourself to try out. For a lot of people, a lot of people will argue that Link's Awakening is one of the best Zelda games, period, including discussions of Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past, Wind Waker, Breath of the Wild. People will bring up Link's Awakening as among them, and really for good reason. Just the mechanics are tight. This game is fun. It's funny. The writing is just really, really great. The twist of the game makes you really feel for the characters and care about what's going on. And up to that point, a Zelda game really hadn't done that well until Link's Awakening came around. It it really made you like feel, and that's really a rare achievement, especially for a Game Boy game.
Yeah, and Nick made such a good point that it is insane that this game that just has so much in it came out when it did on the hardware that it did. Like for a long time, it was Link's Awakening was like far and away like the biggest, most like complete Game Boy game experience up until probably you could say Pokemon, which came out in towards the end of the Game Boy's original life cycle.
Right.
But yeah, it's just crazy how just big and how well the game worked on the Game Boy.
It really does on the original hardware, and now on the Switch hardware in the remake version. But really, I mean, it's the same gameplay, just with the updated graphics and the orchestrated score. It works. Like we talked about last time, though, it definitely has its technical issues with the really, really, really bad frame rate at some points. But aside from that, it's a solid experience, and yeah, I would absolutely recommend it to anyone.
Yep.
Aside from that, I've been diving into the Switch Online library a lot. Right now, I'm just kind of making my way through a lot of the different games that I've played a lot of these games before. Like I beat Super Metroid. I'm currently making my way through Yoshi's Island. Just like these are comfort food games. These are games that I'm like, I'm familiar with. I know them, and I'm just like going through and exploring, and it just feels good, to take that trip down memory lane with a lot of these older games. Like you had the same experience with Super Tennis, and yeah, it's fun for us because we're older and we've played these games before, so it kind of gives us that little nostalgia jolt, while at the same time it provides these games for a newer audience who could go back and say, like the older gamers, they say these games are great, let's see what the big deal is. And they may or may not like them, but a lot of these games are really good enough. Like you see a lot of the indie games that come out today, they are like the old games of the SNES are they're just as good, if not better in a lot of cases, than a lot of those indie games, like same tier. So yeah, I think it's good for a lot of people to get that exposure, to see where see the roots for where today's games came from. And I think they're I'm having a blast with it. Definitely going to be making my way to all sorts of other games that I hadn't played. Like I had never played Super Tennis, but I'm definitely going to give that one a try based on your recommendation. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean everything you say is true. Plus, the 16-bit pixel art style is very big right now. Retro stuff is very huge right now. So even in terms of indie games, that they're emulating that. So going back to the classics after being used to that just from indie games, I think that makes the transition a bit easier and more interesting for gamers today too.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. So yeah, like I said, I've been playing Yoshi's Island. I'm currently on the fourth world, but yeah, have still making my way through. My skills have gotten very rusty. There was a time when I would get like 190 points on every single level, and man, Justin, I am beefing it. I am, I am so rusty and so terrible. I needed to be with my boy again because I've been getting like 70s and 80s, and I'm just like, oh God, like I'm just embarrassed by myself. But I'm like, I gotta move on. I can't. No turning back.
Yep. So gotta get back into the swing of it.
Yep. So, that's really what I've been up to. Mostly.
Except for
the Indie Arcade.
Indie Arcade.
If you remember, I assigned Chris the game Old Man Club to play. It certainly looked weird and perplexing and perhaps quite uncomfortable. The twist here was that previously in our Video Game Quiz Time Supreme episode, I won the Laney Law Award, which basically allows me to play a bad indie arcade game for only 5 minutes and force Chris to play a bad indie arcade game for 1 hour. And I chose to use that for this week. So Chris, you had to play Old Man Club for at least 1 hour. Tell us all about it.
Where do I begin? All right, so Old Man Club is a video game that was in part inspired by the classic Ernest Hemingway novel, The Old Man and the Sea. Now, Justin, I never read the book before, which for a lot of people out there I'm sure is going to be surprising, because Old Man and the Sea is one of those books that is taught a lot in high schools all across the country as part of,
Right.
English literature and things of that nature. I don't recall ever having to read it in high school or other. Maybe you did in a different class than me. I don't know.
I read it. I'm pretty sure I read it at some point, but man, it was long ago, and I barely remember.
Right. So
really any of it.
I never read it. So to get a better understanding of this game, I Wikipedia'd it. All right. I'm sorry to the book purists out there who are like, oh, you should have read it. I don't have time. All right. Although in fairness, it's a short book. I probably could have had time, but whatever. So I never read it. So I looked it up to know what it was about. And Justin, you're not going to believe this, but in a weird way, Old Man Club makes a lot of sense when you understand The Old Man and the Sea.
Really?
It kind of follows. It just takes a weird interpretation of The Old Man and the Sea. So, Old Man Club, for anyone out there who's wondering out there, like, okay, get on with it, what's the game about? You have to arm wrestle these extremely buff men. But they're not just extremely buff men. They have the heads of animals. There is someone with the head of a fish, and I'm talking like an actual like fish head, a realistic looking fish head that's sticking straight up. A lion-headed man. There is a dolphin-headed man, a marlin-headed man, and 2 shark-headed men who kind of work as a team together.
Okay.
All right, so these men are jacked. I cannot emphasize this enough. These guys must work out 24/7 because they've got muscles on their muscles. These guys are...
The detail of the muscles is incredible.
Yeah, the details on these muscles is so intricate. And also, these animal men are very hairy. And not just because they're animals, no. These, from the neck down, imagine like a buff bodybuilding type man, but also there's hair everywhere. There's hair coming out of their armpits. Most egregiously, from the Marlin Man, you see a lot of pubic hair sticking out of the sides of his Speedo. Which is a sentence I never thought I'd ever say in my life. But here we are.
Yeah, he must be European or something.
He's got to be. Doesn't believe in that shaving. Yeah, I put screenshots up on my Twitter at cgold113 if you are so curious as to check out what these buff animal men look like.
I encourage you to do so.
They're both horrifying and titillating. So the way the game works is it opens up with, you're in the old man club, so you have to click. And it's a PC only game. And you're greeted with the sight of the Fishman and the Lion Man. The Fishman, he's like sitting behind a post and he's like just waiting there. The Lion Man is just leaning up against the door. And there's an order in which you have to arm wrestle everyone. So if you try to go to the lion first, he'll tell you, like you're too puny for me. And he'll shoo you away. But you go to the Fishman and let me see, do I have... No, he doesn't. I don't remember what he said. I took copious notes about my experience playing this game because I didn't want to forget. I didn't want to forget anything.
Right.
So, I wrestle with the fish, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat the hell out of you," and then the screen changes, and it's all first-person perspective. Everyone's looking at you, the player, out of the screen, and it says, let me see, as soon as you get done, it's like, let us play the hand game. And that's the exact direct quote. Let us play the hand game.
I hope that's arm wrestling.
It is. It is arm wrestling. So you get that. So you sit down in front of the guy, and he's got his arm out like this, and you see like an image of your arm like that, and you clasp it, and there's a button at the bottom that just says click. So it's essentially a clicker game. You just
Clicker.
You just click your mouse button as much as you can, and if you click it fast enough, you'll see the guy like go, and his arm will go down, and then it'll like go down. And then when you beat the Fishman, he says, "You have cut me to strips." And you're like, okay, cool. I beat the fish.
Nice.
So you come back out of that screen, and now there's a Dolphin Man. And the Dolphin Man is sitting off in the corner, and he's like pumping iron, and he's the same deal as before. Like, he's pumping iron, he's jacked to hell. There's hair sticking out of all of his garments, whatever he's wearing. If you try to... Now, you've got a new member here. The lion already told you, I'm not going to wrestle with you. So you think, okay, here's this dolphin. Let's wrestle with him. If you try to click the dolphin after wrestling with the fish, the dolphin will tell you, my meat is much too sweet for you. And he kicks you out. My meat is much too sweet for you. That is what he tells you.
What meat is he talking about?
That's an excellent question, Justin. I wish I could answer that. But no, you have to wrestle the lion now. So you have to wrestle the fish, then the lion, and the lion's like, I'm going to destroy you. So, same thing before. Let us play the hand game. He's got the thing, you arm wrestle him, and this time you have to click like a little faster than you had to do with the fish guy in order to beat him. So you have to click much, much quicker. I found that it was a lot easier to beat these guys when you were clicking, but also hitting the enter button as you were clicking. So
really,
yeah. So it kind of like each time you hit enter, that also acted as a click. So you were kind of like doubling your click speed a little bit, and you were able to beat these guys a lot more easily. When you beat the lion, he says, strong. He says, strong, like a young cat. And I thought, what? How? That doesn't make any sense. A young cat isn't strong. Like, Have you ever seen a young cat? They're so weak and tiny.
Yeah, no.
They've got no strength to them whatsoever.
These sound like randomly generated, like a robot created the dialogue or something for the game.
Now I say they said it. There's no actual like voice acting or anything. It's just text that appears, and like whenever a dialogue appears, you hear the animal person make like a noise. Like the lion man, you see like "Rrr." And when the fish man says something, he's like eh. It's the weirdest fucking thing. So then, after beating the lion man, you go to the dolphin, and the dolphin, same thing. You have to click a little faster to beat him. And all he says is, "You are truly golden," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's nice."
Hey, he knows you're Chris
Yeah,
Gold.
exactly. See, I'm golden, and he knows it. So perfect. So at that point, you beat the dolphin, and then the back of the club opens up, and there's the marlin. And he's posing, and he's just ripped as hell. He's got his pubes just flying out all over the place. And I'm just like, oh, hello. You're the only one left here who I haven't wrestled, so time to wrestle with you. Now, you go to wrestle the marlin, and he is the hardest one. He is the hardest one you have to wrestle in this game. He tells you when you try to wrestle him, "I love you and respect you, but I will kill you dead before this day ends."
Oh, what?
So I'm like, oh.
You just met this guy.
Yeah, like, oh shit. Now, getting back to the story of the old man in the sea, the whole thing he's trying to do is he sails out to sea to find and fish for a marlin.
Okay.
And he finds the marlin and he catches it, but he's literally like trying to reel it in for 2 days and 2 nights. He is reeling in this marlin. Like, this thing is fighting him. Like, it's a battle trying to bring this thing in. So I'm like, okay. So you start to arm wrestle the marlin, and Justin, I can't stress to you how hard the marlin was to fight. Like I was clicking my mouse as fast as I could. I was hitting the enter button on my keyboard. I was also hitting the enter button on like the number pad part of the keyboard. Yeah. I was hitting all of those as fast as I could, and I just barely beat him. Like wow. I was going as fast as I could. Like, my arms were literally cramped up afterwards. Because
there you go, you're getting as buff as these guys.
Yeah, right. That's the trick.
Forearm muscles.
So yeah, like Popeye. I'm gonna have giant forearms. So I beat the marlin, and he tells me, "You and the stars are my brothers," and I'm like, that's nice. Like.
Very nice.
I earned the respect of the buff marlin man. So that's it's super cool. But then I beat the marlin, and a window opens up in the main shop area, and they're the 2 shark brothers. And they're 2 sharks, and they let's see, do they say anything? I don't remember what they say, but they're like, they're like, like, we're gonna like beat the hell out of you. So right. I'm like, all right, sharks, bring it on. There's 2 of you, whatever, I can take them. So I go to arm wrestle the sharks, and Justin, they are easy as hell. Like, I don't even have to hit enter or anything for them. I can literally just click like a few times, and they go down like nothing. Like,
are you fighting them like together? Like,
it's just one of them, and you see in the background like the shark fin from the other is like kind of swimming back and forth, and you're arm wrestling with one of them, and he just goes down like literally like nothing. But now you beat the shark man, and the shark man says, "You drive a good harpoon." And I'm like, okay. All right. I come back, and everything is the same, except the Marlin Man is a skeleton.
What?
The Marlin Man was eaten by the sharks while I was fighting them.
Oh, no.
Which follows the original story, because the old man gets the Marlin and he like finally wins, and now he's dragging him back to his hometown, to his port. But sharks are attracted to the body of the Marlin, so the old man is literally fighting off these sharks with a harpoon. He fights them off, and he's able to fend them off for the most part, but they just keep taking nibbles here and nibble there out of the Marlin. So by the time he actually gets back, the Marlin is literally a skeleton. So the guy literally went through all that, and he's got nothing to show for it. So, yeah.
It's a metaphor.
Yep. So you see the Marlin skeleton. You try to click on the Marlin, and you get like a zoom in, and a button pops up above him that says "Rest well, old man." And if you click that button, it ends the game. Like, it literally exits you out of the game at that point.
Wow.
So that's the entire game.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah,
I was not expecting
Yeah, it was
that.
actually like a really cool concept. And like I said, when I Wikipedia'd what what The Old Man and the Sea was actually about, it actually kind of followed everything along pretty closely. The old man even he talks about how in his younger days he used to arm wrestle people all the time as like a show of strength. So
Really?
yeah, so,
Oh.
yeah, so like it actually kind of follows. It makes a lot of sense. It took me 5 minutes to beat the whole thing. So now, so
that's what I was about to ask you.
So I had to
no.
to play this fucking game over and over again for an hour, which, let me tell you, really soured me on the whole experience. Especially when I had to fight that goddamn Marlin over and over again, because it hurt my wrists. My arms were literally about to fall off every time. I cannot stress to you how hard fighting this thing is. Like, you are clicking and hitting enter as fast as you can. You think you're going faster, and his arm just goes like that. And you have to go even faster than that to make it go down even more. Like, it is brutal trying to arm wrestle the Marlin Man.
Oh my god. So you did it? You played an hour?
I did, yes. I fulfilled the terms. All right,
You are a
it's
trooper.
done. It's
That's
over.
awesome.
So, yeah.
So how many times did you beat it?
Let's say like 6, I think. Something like that.
Was it all in one sitting, or did you do it like throughout a week?
It was more than one sitting. I couldn't do it all at once. That's no, my arms literally were like cramping up. Like, there's a point in time where physically you can't do it anymore. Your body just won't let you.
This kind of backfired, but in a way, it also sounds like it was like very annoying in a separate kind of way. So I'll take it as a success.
It was annoying for its own special reasons, and it was also disturbing for a lot of the reasons that you intended it to be. But the game actually did turn out pretty cool. It was a different twist on an American classic, but it still kind of hewed close to what it was. So yeah, all in all, a fine game. It's on itch. It's free.
Right.
Can't
Old Man Club on itch.io, and it's free.
Yep. Can't really complain. Now,
wow,
Justin.
Okay.
What is today's date?
It is, as we record this, October 13th.
October, which means it's our favorite time of the year, especially here on the indie arcade side of things. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Creepy Arcade.
The Creepy Arcade.
Creepy Arcade is one of our favorite segments of the year. It's one of mine anyway. I can't speak for Justin. But this is where we decide, for the indie arcade, let's get a little creepy. Let's get a little crawly. Let's get scary with some of the indie arcade games. And there's a lot of creepy shit out there. And
I get exposed for the weenie that I am.
Yes, and Justin, if everything I've heard about this game is true, you are going to be quite a weenie about this one.
Oh boy.
This first game that I'm giving to you. Now, bear in mind too, we're going to have the other episode where you're going to get me back for the creepy arcade. So, bearing that in mind, this game that I'm going to assign to you is it's very well recommended in terms of games that are going to make you shit your pants. This game actually came out a couple of years ago. It is on itch.io. And Justin, I am pleased and proud to present the first creepy arcade game of 2019.
Ugh.
And that, Justin, I'm giving you the link right now. Your creepy arcade game is Faith. Faith is a pixel horror game inspired by MS-DOS, Apple II, Atari, and ZX Spectrum classics. This, Justin, is a game where, let's see, here's the story. On September 21st, 1986, two priests arrived at the Martin family home in rural Connecticut to investigate an apparent case of demonic possession. Only two people would leave the house alive. So, yes, Faith. So, as you can see if you're looking at it, this game is inspired by, a lot of the original games. Like, this is an 8-bit style game where... imagine something almost like on the Atari 2600, you would see something in this art style. It's very basic. The colors are very crude. The art style is very blocky and crude. But the person who has made this game has done a really good job in just making it creepy and unnerving. So... you are going through this game, and you are a priest, and you have to save a young girl who has been possessed by a demon.
Okay.
And, it's very hard for me to describe the game. I recommend you watch the trailer for it, just to get an idea of what you got ahead of you.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be right there on the link that I sent to you.
All right, I'm watching it now.
Yep. So, start out in a car, you're walking in the woods, and you come across the house. And you're exploring everything. You see the girl's bedroom, toys, the laundry room scattered around.
God, the music is horrifying already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's cultists and all sorts of things flying around. It's interesting. Like, this guy does this. Keep saying this guy. This person has done a really good job in making use of a very limited artistic palette.
Oh my god.
Yeah, my favorite part of the animations, when you see like the people crawling towards you on all fours. Did you see any of that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw it.
Yep. So yeah, that is Faith. There's quite a few people, like a lot of YouTubers who have played this game, just because they've heard how creepy it is, for the purposes of getting the pants scared off them, and pants have been shat by playing this game. And Justin, I'm pleased and proud that your pants are next in line to be shat while playing this game.
Oh god. Okay, this does look very scary. But it does say that it only takes about an hour, maybe 2 hours to complete. So even though...
To complete 100%. So you don't have to be...
to complete 100%.
Right. From what I understand, there are multiple endings. So...
Yeah.
Yeah, so however the game ends is entirely up to you.
I could very simply use my landing law here, but you know what? That's the wussy way out, and I don't want to do that. I am actually really interested in like the balance of like super like Atari pixelated graphics and actually making it a very scary game. I find it intriguing. That trailer and the screenshots are definitely getting me pretty hooked. So yeah, I'm gonna try and beat this thing.
All right, I'm happy and proud of you that you made that decision. I'll admit I was very nervous about assigning this game because I was like, oh, he's got that Laney Bale. He could like only play 5 minutes of this, and then he'd be like, oh, whatever. I bailed out. But you didn't do that. You sticking it through. You're gonna play it. I'm pleased. I can't wait to hear everything about it next time.
Yeah. Well, I am freaked, but I'm more intrigued. And sometimes when I'm more intrigued and scared, I'll do stupid things. So I think I'm gonna play and try to beat Faith.
Yeah.
And just probably poop myself.
I will also point out there have been more than a few times this year I've given you an indie game that I've said, oh, this is a game that I've been interested in playing myself. This is not one of those times. I've got no interest whatsoever in playing this. So yeah, have fun with it.
All right. Well, with that being said, why don't we take a quick break, and when we return, we will hop right into our latest video game true or false.
Oh, baby.
Back to Press A Repeatedly. Justin Tomaso here with Christopher Gold, and it is time to bring back a favorite segment of ours and yours, Video Game True or False.
Video Game True or False?
I have, let's see here, I have 4 statements to read. The statements are like a fact that could be, and basically Chris has to either agree with it or go against it, and then explain why he chooses such. And it'll spawn some good video game topic conversation that shall stifle all of your cravings.
Yes. Any questions you may have out there about video game issues of the day, we are going to answer right here once and for all. So we are going to settle those debates completely.
All right. Yeah, I think I'm ready to go. If you're ready, man, what do you say we just hop right into it?
Let's do this.
Okay. Our first one of the evening. True or false? We aren't paying enough for video games. A AAA title should cost around $100 to $120.
Really diving into the deep end right off the bat, huh? Oh.
Yep.
Oh boy. All right. So now, could you repeat like the first sentence?
Yeah, sure.
Just the first sentence.
We aren't paying enough for video games.
Aren't paying enough for video games. Okay. So I feel like that should be true. Just from it, that should be true Do I want it to be true? Absolutely not. But it's kind of a fine line on that one. I'm sure I know exactly where you're coming from with that one, with regards to a lot of the labor issues that are coming out regarding a lot of the video game developers and publishers out there. I know, Riot Games has had a lot of issues. Bethesda, there have been a lot of exposés written about the working conditions and crunch conditions at a lot of major developers for major games, like Red Dead Redemption. Just all the games. All the games have had these different exposés written about them, and the big issue why a lot of the smaller developers, like the individual game developers, are looking towards potential unionization efforts is because they are not being paid enough for a lot of the work they do. I mean, these guys are going in and they're half killing themselves to make video games for us. And a lot of these issues could be alleviated if video games did cost more initially. Now, again, these companies, they manage to squeeze some blood from that stone in a lot of different ways. You've got microtransactions, you have paid DLC, you have expansion packs, you have all cosmetics, you have all sorts of different ways of monetization where you pay extra for a video game than you did initially. But would those efforts be alleviated if that base price was increased from $60 to, like you said, $100? Maybe not. At the same token, like, I understand it as someone who is, as a worker, I understand where they're coming from. You want to be paid fairly for your work, but I'm also a consumer, so in that same token, I don't necessarily want to have to pay so much for these games because they're not being paid enough. I'm not being paid enough. So I don't have as much cash to burn for video games as I would ordinarily like. But that's also an issue for my bosses. They should pay me more too. So this kind of this issue kind of spirals a little bit.
Yeah.
If you dig deep enough into it. I would absolutely like and prefer my games to be developed by people who are compensated fairly, who aren't abused, who aren't being put through the ringer to meet these different sales quotas or different developmental goals that can be considered unrealistic. Would it be worth paying extra to alleviate some of that burden? Me personally, I think so, but there's also the responsibility of the management of these developers to pay their workers a little extra because they can absolutely afford to pay these guys a little extra for all the hard work that they're doing.
Yeah, you really hit the nail on the head with basically everything that I was thinking on that one. And if you think about, where this is coming from, video game prices have not adjusted for inflation really at all. I mean, it cost $60 for a new game back in 1990, same price as it is today. Here we are, like 30 plus years later. And so, and you could look at the scale of the game, right? Like $60 for Chippendale on the NES, and then $60 for The Witcher 3. Like these are two huge different style of games. So there's a lot to really unpack here that goes into this. I did have the qualifier in that statement that a AAA title should be around $100 or $120.
Right, because that's kind of the standard price.
Yeah, I think indie games, for the most part, are priced pretty fairly for what they offer. And for, the amount of workers and everything that goes in there. But yeah, it's tough because how do you really manage what makes a game worth a certain amount of money? Like, yeah, a game could be 120 hours long, but what if there's no charm there? Like, if it's just a drag, there's no padding or whatever, Or conversely, what if you get this beautiful, fun, really lighthearted and charming experience, and it's only 9 hours long? You don't want to pay $60 or $100 for that either. So the only way I could really see this working is if, again, like you said, those extra measures, the DLC, the cosmetics, like all that stuff, is either in the game when you buy it, or when it comes out, you get it for free because you're paying for it all up front at the $120 or $100 level. You're going all in basically. You're buying the full package. There cannot be additional purchases to something that's going to cost a C note. Like that's insane. So I think that could be the only selling point, the only way to kind of convince people that your game is worth that much money. You're kind of seeing that now. A lot of games, like for example, Borderlands 3 just came out. You can buy the gold edition or whatever that gives you the first or all of the upcoming DLCs for free when they come out because you paid $100 for it. So
Right.
maybe that's something that we'll start to see more. You're 100% right that the payment of the workers who work on these games falls in the hands of the bosses and the publishers and everything. The big wigs that are basically putting everything together. Because it could be the same where we do raise the price to $120 a game, but these guys are still getting paid the same, and the extra money is just going to the higher ups, and that would be a nightmare. So we really want to avoid that as well.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, because you could absolutely raise the price, and that money is just going right into their pockets.
Yeah.
And the people who actually worked on the games and developed them and put their blood, sweat, and tears into it don't see an extra penny.
Yeah, it's just weird. I mean, you look at movie prices from 1990. Geez, I don't know, maybe like $6 or $7 a movie at that point, maybe less. And
if that, yeah.
Yeah. Now they're at $13, $14, $15.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Elena and I went to the movies just yesterday, and I'm pretty sure each ticket cost like $13.
Yeah.
I was like, are you like? Oh man,
And that's cheap. I've
like,
seen more.
Yeah, that's why we I told you we don't really go to the movies that much. That's a big reason why right there. Yeah, especially now with streaming services, you can just wait for those movies to come out on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, and or this new Disney Plus that's coming out, and you can just catch it on there.
Yeah. It's definitely a tricky one. You're right. I don't think there really is a solid answer to that. We'll just call it Fru for right now, or Trolls.
Fru or Trolls. Yeah, but should they cost more to alleviate that burden? Yeah, that's kind of a fine line, but there definitely something needs to happen on the back end to help those people out, because they I don't want to have to keep paying the same price if it's going to mean that they're going to be broken spiritually and physically.
All right, well said. Good start. All right, let's move on to the next one here.
All right.
If Project Scarlet underperforms next generation, it will be the last console from Microsoft.
Now let's see. If it underperforms. So Microsoft definitely is it feels like they're really putting a lot of their eggs into the Scarlet basket. They've been buying up a whole bunch of developers. They've picked up Team Ninja and Double Fine and a lot Obsidian. They've got a lot of those guys under their wing right now. Scarlet is proving to be a super powerful console when it comes out and helps kick off the next generation in holiday 2020. same time as the PS5, apparently. So looks like we got another year of this one, of this generation at least. Um, it's all comes down to those games, man. I know they're kicking off Scarlet with the new Halo game, but they need more. They need more than just that. They need a lot of these games to come out, and I know their Game Pass service is a really good deal, and it's something that Microsoft is really, really banking on. I think that it could be very successful for them. I think it's a lot of steps in the right direction. Whether they execute and follow through on a lot of these games performing to the level that people really want them to, that remains to be seen. But yeah, considering how much Microsoft has invested and devoted towards this console, and let's just say that it underperforms, I'm going to have to say true. I'll say true that yeah, if for all of their investment, everything they sunk into this project, and it fails to deliver, it doesn't provide what Microsoft's executives want it to, and the customer is dissatisfied with it, I think Microsoft pulls out of the game completely at that point, because why bother? Because they've lost this generation to the PS4 and the Switch now, increasingly. And if the next console follows that same path, and now you've got the rise of Google Stadia coming up, yeah, who knows what that's going to bring. I think you could see Microsoft in a very precarious position, and I think, yeah, they might just say, yeah, forget it, we're done.
I don't see Microsoft completely throwing in the towel if Scarlet does go awry. What I would see, what I expect for them if this were to happen, though, is a big shakeup of maybe not only corporate and how the Xbox division is run, but what Xbox is at its whole. You know, I think, like you said, Game Pass is doing really well. They're bringing this kind of streaming service as a little bit into fruition. It's being a little bit more popular. You know, it's Stadia is kind of doing the same thing. I could very much see them with their deep pockets and all of the technology that they have over at Microsoft, working on creating some sort of new way to play games, very much like Nintendo did with the Switch after, you know, the Wii U's fails. You know, I think that they have too much invested at this point to completely bow out, and they could really benefit from some sort of ulterior service of games. The only problem with that, though, would be that there will be no, at that point, direct competition for Sony, and they would pretty much just kind of have the whole hardcore console market to themselves. So that's the only hesitation I would have, unless, you know, the streaming service or whatever they would create could somehow compete with that. But yeah, you know, I just think that, you know, they don't have to really worry about going belly up because they have so much money from Windows and everything. You know, they have tons of the smartest tech engineers and everything. And, you know, just seeing the success of that Nintendo turnaround that they could build from that, I think they're already working on that as we speak. Who knows really what Scarlet will be, you know, when it does come out. I mean, yeah, we know it's going to be an actual console with, like, really, like, the crazy specs available, but it might have a lot of services that we've never seen before or even have thought could be possible. So, you know, we're just going to have to wait and see there.
Right. And it is also true. I mean, you kind of like touched on it a little bit. Microsoft, especially over the past couple of years, they've started to become much friendlier with Nintendo on the business side of things. So they may see, they may see it as more beneficial for them to hitch their wagons to the Nintendo train a little and see where that goes. Because Microsoft, especially in Japan, they've really, really struggled to penetrate the Japanese market for a very, very long time. It's just something about the Japanese culture. They prefer Japanese companies like Nintendo and Sony over an American company like Microsoft. Microsoft could have, by pairing up with Nintendo, that helps them get to the Japanese market a little bit better. You've got more games and more characters appearing on Nintendo systems. Probably the most recent, most notable example is when Banjo-Kazooie was allowed to appear on Smash Brothers. And even in his direct, Sakurai mentioned, oh, if you want to play the original Banjo-Kazooie, play it on Xbox One right now. And what's funny is when he said that, apparently Xbox started trending on Twitter in Japan because people literally were like, what the hell is an Xbox? And they were like searching it up in Japan.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
But that's the power that Nintendo has over in Japan, and it could really benefit Microsoft significantly. So I think you're right. They could look at it from a different perspective. Like instead of competing with Sony head on, have a different way of playing games. Try something new, something different that hasn't been tried before. And I mean, Microsoft, they have a lot of really great ideas. I know last year we were both raving about that one controller that they developed.
Oh, of course.
The physically disabled gamers could play using that, and that was a brilliant idea. It was incredible. So I don't necessarily think like if they just simply stick with the console as is and say, oh, like if it fails, then I think they would be done. But you're right, they're too smart for that. They've got too many resources. They could try something else and make it work from a different angle. So I can definitely see that side of it.
Yeah. I think we kind of dissected that the best that we could.
Yep, I think so too.
Okay, moving on here. Nintendo's pricing is too aggressive. Hardware, software, and accessories rarely go on sale, and when they do, it is too little, too late.
True. My God, true. 1,000 times true. You've got some of their AAA games that came out like a couple years ago, and if you want to buy them today on the eShop or at like Walmart or GameStop or wherever, they're still $60, and they're a couple years old, like Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey. Those games never drop in price ever, and it's ridiculous. Every other publisher in the industry, they put out a game. Borderlands 3 just came out, and right now it's $60. Give it a couple months, and that's going to be down to like $50, and eventually it'll be down to like $30 or so. And that's like the publisher will just say, yeah, drop the price, because it's not brand new anymore, and we want to lower the barrier of entry for a lot of new people to come in and play the game. We made the bulk of our money from it being a fresh release. Let more people come in and play it. Nintendo never ever does that, and that's not like a recent strategy either. That's literally from the time they entered the video game industry to today. That's how they've always been, and it's just so short-sighted and terrible, and I wish they wouldn't do it.
I tend to agree with you for the most part, but just trying to play devil's advocate here and think of a good reason. From a business perspective, if you're that confident in your product that you have a really great product and it's still selling, why would you drop the price? People are still buying Mario and Zelda for $60. Why change that? Get the most that you can out of your highest prioritized stuff, and be happy with it. Like, embrace that. It's just tough because they do that for everything. Even their big they're not so big AAA games, right? That should be on sale or stuff that should be discounted. That stuff's not. You know, they're very bad with reward programs for loyal customers. Club Nintendo is an absolute dumpster fire. You know,
Oh, don't get me started.
like you get a gift, you get all these coins from buying all the games, and you can use them to get 30% off of Donkey Kong Country Returns for the 3DS, the remake that came out 5 years ago. Like, come on, like
it's
insane.
terrible. It's pathetic.
Yeah.
I remember. Oh man, it was My Nintendo was its predecessor.
Right, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no wait. My Nintendo is the current one. Club Nintendo was the old one.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember using a lot of the coins that got saved up. Or did you use it? Because I have a 3DS carrying case that's got like Legend of, like all the old school Legend of Zelda designs on it, and that came from Club Nintendo, and it was friggin' awesome. You could get like a lot of different rewards and little things like that.
Back when they
on
had
limited
physical
time.
rewards. Now they don't have that anymore.
It was so cool. Like you buy a game and you get the coins and you can say, yeah, give me that 3DS carrying bag. It's got Zelda on it. It looks great. And yeah, I still have it to this day. It's one of my favorite things. And now, like you said, the rewards just suck. Like you buy these games and you got platinum coins. Like, big whoop. Like, what can I do with them?
Yeah, it's just confusing. It's hard to like convince people that are on the fence to pick something up because they don't really want to pay full price because they're not 100% sure. Like, you know, you look at the Switch now, it's almost 3 years old. The Switch Lite has just come out. The original, the OG Switch is still full price. The controllers are still full price. I mean, they were overpriced to begin with before it even came out. You know, it's just really crazy. But again, trying to make an argument conversely, like you had mentioned about the other publishers' AAA games going on sale. Sometimes I feel like they drop those prices way too quick. Almost like they don't have faith in their game or something like that. Like I remember the new God of War game that came out last year. I was at a Walmart like 3 months later, and it was like $29 or something. Horizon Zero Dawn was down to $19, like maybe 3 or 4 months after it came out. And I just don't understand, like how, you know, again going back to our first true or false fact about, you know, not making enough money for games, not charging enough for games, and, you know, publishers and developers not making enough. You know, when you're dropping this price so drastically, so new, like so close to the actual release date, that's gotta hurt your overall income.
It could hurt. I guess it depends on how much like the game costs per unit to sell. Because I mean, the cost per unit is generally going to remain relatively stable for each unit that you make. There's different costs like fixed costs and variable costs that factor into it. But if you kind of like, if you're not selling a lot of product at a certain price point, you'll lower it and you'll sell even more of it. So
Right.
you'll increase the actual sales volume. So maybe by having it at a certain point, like you've got a certain profit margin, if you lower the price and decrease the profit margin per unit, you'll sell more units and you'll ultimately increase your profits that way than you did if you said, you buy one and you make a ton of profit from that one versus you sell 100 and you make like a little bit of profit margin, but ultimately that adds up to a larger amount than before. So you help clear out inventory, and it helps increase your profit line a little bit. That's my MBA talking there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have like you said, from a business perspective, it's hard to understand, but it does make a little bit of sense why you would want to lower your profit. Why would you why you would want to lower your prices a little bit. But also from Nintendo's perspective, none of the other publishers, that's the one advantage that Nintendo has versus your Bethesdas and Sony and everyone else. They have the brands. They have Mario, they have Zelda. They've got those IPs that everybody loves. And so they figure, hey, if you want to play the new Mario, like, people are going to shell that money out. And that's supply and demand right there. People keep demanding to play Mario and Zelda at that same price point. So Nintendo looks at it and says, well, if people keep buying up these games at this price, why lower the price? Why decrease the amount of profit that's coming in for us?
Yeah, it just goes back to no real loyalty to the gamers. Like, Nintendo stuff goes on sale if A, it's like 5 years old and it becomes a Nintendo Select, or B, like, it's doing absolutely horrible in the marketplace and needs to have some sort of price fix to get some sales at all. And like, on one hand, I understand it. On the other hand, it's just kind of lame for us.
It really is. Like I said before, I wish they could lower these prices for just some of the older games. That way people could get a chance to more easily dive in and see, people talked about Mario Odyssey for a while. What's this all about? Just let people enjoy these games. That's ultimately the bottom line.
All right, good point, good discussion. Got one left for you, Chris, and it's a bit of a doozy.
Lay it on me.
The next mainline Mario game should conclude with the death of Mario.
Wow. All right. Hold on, I gotta think about this. All right, so essentially, this would be the final Mario game. Because all of the Mario games, like, revolve around Super Mario. You've got Super Mario Odyssey, Super Mario Sunshine. It's been a while since we've had a game that was actually, like, in the main Super Mario Brothers. Well, no, that's not true. We have new Super Mario Brothers. Your mileage may vary on how good or fun those games are,
right,
but they exist. They're
and
still
Super
there.
Mario 3D World. I guess you can count that too, right?
Yeah. That one is still there. It's still good. That one is part of the canon. Should Mario be dead at the end? So, all right. So, the formula for Mario, like, I feel like hasn't gotten stale enough for them to take that necessary and drastic step just yet. It's that's kind of a big step. Just imagine how would it end? So Mario defeats Bowser. Like, he goes through this whole crazy thing, like, and Bowser's like, "Roar," and Mario, like, punches him in the nuts, and Bowser's like, "Oh," and he, like, tips over into a lava pit holding his junk, and he burns alive, and he's dead. And it's like, Mario wins. And then Peach, like, comes over and, like, hugs him, and it's like, "Oh, Mario, you did it." And you look at Mario's face, and his eyes are just wide. His pupils are, like, tiny. And Peach, like, pulls back, and she pulls the knife out of his bag.
Wait, Peach kills him?
Yeah, man.
Whoa.
Yeah, if you you want him to die, you got to keep people guessing, man.
Holy crap. What a wild end to the next Mario game.
Yep. And then Peach just turns around and, like, with a snicker, walks into Bowser's castle, which is now her castle, from which she's going to rule everything.
Okay.
And then Luigi discovers Mario's body in a bloody mess, and he's like, "Mario, how could this be?" And he looks and he sees Peach walking into the castle with a bloody knife, and he's like, "That bitch, and then doom, to be continued.
Exactly. See, this is why personal preference, why I'm leaning towards this idea. It would pave the way for some kick-ass Luigi Vendetta games where he's just trying to avenge his brother's death. But also,
that'd be incredible.
Oh yeah, of course it would. Also, this could be like, the death of Superman, like a superhero death, right? So like Mario dies, but he's gonna come back somehow in the next game. He's resurrected as like Angel Mario or something, and he's got new superpowers or something. And Mario never really dies; he just comes back stronger.
Right.
But there'd be a nice little like break in between that focuses on some of the lesser known or less favored Mario characters. And aside from traumatizing every single video game fan in the history of the world, it'd be a pretty radical move for Nintendo.
It'd be a very radical move. It would be extreme. I feel like that's a very high risk, high reward move. Okay, yes, we've killed Mario. It's a big deal, but we're taking the Mario franchise in new and exciting directions.
The guy's just in a boardroom with Shigeru Miyamoto. He's just trying to explain that idea.
Miyamoto's just sitting back. He's got his fingers crossed. He's like, I will allow this. Oh man, yeah, but no, Peach has to do it.
Yeah, okay, I like Peach. That twist. I did not see that coming. I think that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Peach has to be the one to plunge the knife into Mario's back. And yeah, I love the idea of like the different spin-offs where maybe like Luigi is out to personally get revenge on Peach and the rest of the evil minions that are now under Peach's control. Maybe Toad goes through and he tries to like resurrect Mario, and again like he has to avoid Peach's minions because they don't want Mario to come back.
Oh yeah.
So I think there's a lot of potential for this idea. You know what? True. Let's kill Mario.
Maybe Luigi doesn't know that Peach killed Mario, and like you play the whole game of like Luigi's Vendetta game. Like you're working for Peach, and like Peach is pulling the strings, and like you as the player know what really happened, and you're trying to tell Luigi, but he can't hear you, and he's doing what he thinks is right, and oh man, so many twists and turns. I think we're onto something here.
We got something here. Like you struck on a really great idea. You know what? We should write a letter to Nintendo immediately and tell them about this idea. Like, hey guys, this one's on us. All right, kill Mario. Now I know what you're thinking, but hear us out.
Well, they didn't respond to my letter, and my Nintendo account has been suspended.
We've also received cease and desist letters from Nintendo, so this is the last episode of Press A repeatedly.
What a way to go.
Yep. Perfect.
That's it. That's it for True or False. I think there were some pretty great topic starters there. Chris, as always, I think you did a very great job bringing up some really good points.
Those were some great topics, man. You did a great job thinking them up.
Thank you. If you're out there listening, we want to know what you think. Of course, send us an email, parpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know if you think any of these topics are true or false, any kind of opinions you have towards that, and any other maybe possible topics for the next true or false.
Yep, we always love to hear from you.
And with that, we're going to get on out of here, as that will be all for this week. Remember, Press A repeatedly posts new episodes Tuesdays on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Podbean, YouTube, and Spotify. If you like what you hear, please take a moment to rate and review the show, or tell your friends about us. It helps other people find the podcast and will really help us grow. And thank you to all who have rated, reviewed, and subscribed so far. We love you.
You can follow us on our Facebook page or on Twitter and Instagram. We are at PAR_podcast. I'm at cgold113, and Justin is at oaf7724. You can email us any questions or comments at parpodcast@gmail.com. That's parpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to check us out on our website, pressarepeatedly.com. And that's all for this week. Chris and Justin signing off. And remember, to win an arm wrestling match with the world's most powerfully endowed fish, press A repeatedly.